What's up, everybody? This is Jay from SOR, and I'm going to go over our Axial SMT10 monster truck build, since Instagram only lets you do like 10 pictures, and that's not really enough to go over everything that's been done with this. So, like I said, Axial SMT10. This is a J Concepts Gozer body sitting on J Concepts Tribute wheels and Firestorm tires. These use the AR60 axle, and I have aluminum axle tubes in to make them stronger, because that's pretty necessary, especially with all the leverage of the bigger tires on the sides of it. I also bought extra axle trusses and put them on it for a little bit more beefiness, and looks a little bit cooler too. They don't look quite as small and frail. Steering's handled by a Tekin T440 torque servo and a T-reel or Treel, I honestly don't know how to say their name, LMT servo saver. And we stuck with the stock plastic links on this just so that it's a little more forgiving and we don't break off stub shafts on the axles or anything like that. So yeah, just kind of another layer of protection. I mean, it's not like this thing has to drive super accurately. They just kind of tumble around all over the place. It's got 85mm limit straps front and rear that are functional. One thing that I added to it that it didn't have when I took the pictures is front and rear sway bars. Makes a big difference now in this thing, because it actually had quite a bit of torque twist when you would get on the gas, because it is a fairly powerful Tekin electronic system in it. It's got Incision by Vanquish, their trailing arm delete kit in the rear. I ended up getting a set of bent front links for Yeti and Bomber rear uppers, is what these originally for. They're covered in heat shrink just because I didn't really want like any bling on this thing. The reason why I went with the bent rears to run up front is to give us some more room so that the thing will turn better. If it had the straight ones on, the tires would rub and you would lose a ton of steering on this. So moving on next to the body, it's got our Energy Shield universal window decal kit. So you can see it adds kind of some hexagon gold mirror detail to it, so it looks a little bit like Chief's visor from the Halo games, since that's kind of the theme we're going for here. Underneath, front and rear, for some cool looking underglow, we have rock lights that are white from Lit LED, and they are super bright, and they kind of give it a neat like futuristic glow to it. Starting at the front, we got dual shocks front and rear. They are held on using tabs from our EPX kit, some carbon fiber shock tabs. The second set of shocks aren't functional, they're just for looks to kind of make it look a little bit beefier. And then you can see I've got sway bars in the stock locations. I did have to buy some stainless steel rod to make them wider to be able to go around the outside of the shocks, since there's not much room. In the cockpit, got a racing seat that I had 3D printed. 3D printed steering wheel from Night Customs from the Vanquish VS410. I made the cockpit with Lexan, and then the dash was made out of some aluminum panel that I had. And there wasn't a whole lot of room to work with in there, but I did manage to get a seat and stuff in because I wanted to keep this thing fairly scale looking. Monster RC 3D printed resin headers for it. Next, we'll flip it over, show you the ESC. We have it mounted underneath because there's not a whole lot of room, and it also keeps the weight a little bit lower on this thing, so it's not as prone to flipping over or anything like that. You can see we're running the stock plastic links on top. Again, that's just to add a little bit of flexibility, so if you come down on one wheel, you're less likely to bend or break anything. The RX4 ESC is awesome for monster trucks, and one of the reasons for that is on-the-fly adjustable drag brake, so you can dial in as much or as little drag brake as you can, so you can do one big jump with it freewheeling nice and spinning freely, and then turn around and dial up a whole bunch of drag brake and do some stoppies or moonwalks or whatever you want to do. So that's a really handy feature for any kind of freestyle monster truck stuff. Stock drive shafts, never had a problem with them, so I didn't replace them. And here's a better look at the axles with the dual trusses. Just makes it look a little bit beefier. Now, as far as the gears go, I'm running underdrive gears, front and rear, on this from Incision, which is one of Vanquish's product lines, along with Vanquish lockers. The reason being is that the ring gear is larger than stock or the overdrive ones, and so you've got a little more contact patch and you're less likely to strip out the Axial AR60 gears, because those are some big tires that have a lot of mass rotating, and they can break stuff because they're pretty heavy. So anyways, there you go. That is our Axial SMT10 scale monster truck build. Thing is a ton of fun. I want to thank Tekin again for just the awesome electronics that made this thing come to life. It is an absolute ripper and has more than enough power to do whatever you want. One last thing for holding the panels on, you can see I use some of the existing cage screws, and then a trick that I do on other rigs with cages is I'll use an R clamp from automotive parts store and put it around the tubing, and then put a screw and a nut through it to hold it on. So it's kind of a nice clean way to add body panels without having to do zip ties or anything like that. So anyhow, there you go. That's our truck. Hopefully it inspires you to go build something cool and have some fun. Thanks for watching.